Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching POLITIRIXX. I'm Michael. We have Dean and we also have Soledad. How you doing today, guys? There has been a crazy week in the world of politics. Would that be a good way to say that?
A very eventful week.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's start it off with we have Romney all of a sudden going in for Trump, and we also have Cruz and Rubio fighting for second place. What do you guys think about that?
Well, Romney, I mean, it's funny. He took a playbook out of what Haren Reid pulled on him when he was running for president, downing his taxes. Remember that?
Right.
You figure Romney would put that on the Democrats for doing it to him, and yet he does that to Trump.
Which then goes back to our TPP discussion of who's in it together and what's going on. Yeah, I find that interesting.
And you know what I found out the other day? Out of all the candidates, only one guy is against Monsanto, and that's Trump.
Now that's interesting. And that makes me wonder why.
He was talking about, I read, he was against, the vaccines. He's blaming that for autism. He's saying it's no good.
Well, I believe what he said was it should be up to the parent to decide. It's not saying that they should not be done, but saying that the parent should have the right to choose.
Yeah, but he was definitely against them. So I just thought, it's like, just pick. This election, you got to look at what you want, see which guy is for it, and then just go vote for it. Other than that, it's just a mess. It's just a mess.
Well, because I think the lines are getting blurred.
Christie went and supported Trump.
And even though John Kasich had asked Christie for Christie's endorsement and Christie supported Trump, which I'm kind of curious as to what his motivation was behind that. Was it just to sucker punch Rubio? Because then he came out with the boxing gloves against Rubio. So, which I loved. Noah Trevor on the Daily Show kind of described the Rubio and Christie thing like Christie was that drowning guy who brought Rubio down with him. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, where is this coming from? Like, why is this guy picking on that guy? What's the motivation there? And well, it's really interesting because Trump picked up an endorsement from Christie, as you mentioned, and then also from Chris Collins. So then I looked at both of those gentlemen, and I think it's probably fair to say that Christie's pretty much done in politics. So, okay, so you got an endorsement from Chris Christie, who isn't really liked in his own state after the whole pig gestation crate thing. And now he picked up an endorsement from Collins, who his term ends this year also. And I'd love for anybody to find this out, because I actually tried to find out if he's running again. I couldn't find anything that said that he was. So I'm like, so is Trump basically getting endorsements from two people who don't have anything to lose because they're both out of the politics game now? So it's, and Chris Collins is actually one of the wealthiest members of Congress. And he's a businessman and he's got businesses in the Buffalo area. So then I'm kind of wondering, well, is Trump promising you something on the back end? This is why it makes you question, all of this makes me question why is this person endorsing that person and so forth? Because, it's getting to be like idiocracy is what I can see here.
And with Christie, I mean, really, what did he have, like 5%?
Yeah, exactly.
But then when it gets to Rubio and Cruz, I mean, I gotta say I'm disappointed in both of them because Cruz never should have did that to Dr. Carson and lied like that, and then Rubio with his he promised the people of Florida one thing, and then he went and joined the Gang of Eight, and Trump is beating him in his own state. Trump's
Yeah,
got.
well, he kind of shot himself in the foot a few times now, Rubio. I mean, here you had Christie calling him a robot because he could only keep saying that same little catchphrase. And I'm like,
Right.
dude, take an improv class, like mix it up, show some oomph there. But then he was supposed to go to a conservative event in South Carolina. Against, and Jeb was still in the race at that time, so you had Jeb and you had Ted Cruz there, and he was a no-show. And I'm like, how bad does that look when you just don't even bother to show up? And so then he tried to get one of his staff members to go on for him, and they were actually pleading, you let one of us speak for him. And they said no. And so the staff members kept saying, well, he's running late. He's running late. And they're like, well, we'll wait for him. And I'm like, this just makes you look terrible, like a wimp, honestly, that you didn't even bother to show up.
Yeah, it's. You wonder what it really means to them anyway. I mean, you don't bother to show up. You figured to be there. I couldn't figure that out either. I still don't know what happened. Any word on what happened?
Is it cowardice or arrogance? Is it like I'm so awesome I don't need to bother, or like that you would expect from Trump, honestly, or is it like I'm just so chicken that I can't go and face my opponent? Which honestly, that's kind of the feeling I got from Trump when he wouldn't go up against Megyn Kelly. I'm like, really, come on now.
I think it boils down to when we all found out that the Fox was a friend of Bush and all that other jazz. I think Donald wasn't letting on more than he should have, and he went back anyway. But it didn't matter because he keeps winning.
He does. And here's another endorsement he got, which here's another endorsement he got, which just freaked the heck out of me. He got the endorsement of David Duke, Ku Klux Klan member David Duke, and I'm like, what does that say? Really, you're getting the endorsement of the Ku Klux Klan member, of a Ku Klux Klan leader.
It's goes to show you everybody likes him. I mean, what do I say? I mean,
well, I think that's an endorsement you probably wouldn't want,
I understand, but we have a Klan, and we got to look at everything. Why did Obama go to Robert Byrd's funeral and talk there? Robert Byrd was a KKK, right? Look at the history of the Democrat Party with the KKK. So
that is true.
Democrat Party
before George Wallace got shot, they did a 180.
Let's not get into that. Let's just go over the whole can of worms for both sides. I don't think it's politically smart for either one to really go after that. Given the history of the Democrat Party with the KKK, because what we know of Trump, he'll bring that. He'll bring it up, and he won't shut it up. He'll just keep talking about how, Democrats created KKK and the Jim Crow laws and the amendments that Democrats didn't ratify for slaves when they were freed, and the civil rights movement. They voted against it. How Al Gore's dad voted against it. It just opened up a whole bad thing for the Democrats if they bring that up.
Well, it's this is really interesting, and what we got going on both sides, and it's interesting because Mitt Romney wasn't the only person who's called on Trump to show his tax returns. Right. Me personally, I believe he's not as wealthy, because Romney's take on it is that there's some sort of bombshell in there. My personal belief is he's not as wealthy as we think he is, and that's because.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, well, I think there's a lot of people see his name in big gold letters like everywhere, and they assume he owns all these things, which is actually not the case. He licenses his name out. But then I kind of wonder, what? If somebody is that wealthy, why are you stealing from college kids running a fake university? Like, what was that all about? Mm-hmm. So, and actually, he started The Apprentice because the Taj Mahal was in foreclosure. So that was to save the Taj Mahal. So
he was willing to work and get it done.
Well, that may be, but that was so those are the two kind of options we have with what Romney's suggesting is either there's a bombshell in there or he's not really as rich as he claims to be. So I'm actually going with the latter. Romney's kind of suggesting there's a bombshell. So,
but that's exactly my point. That's what Reid said about Romney. He had a bombshell about his taxes. It's the same chatter.
Shouldn't they all show their taxes, every one of them? I
Yeah,
think.
but I know Cruz and Rubio have I think released them today or yesterday, or are planning to do it tomorrow. That there was something about that. But the thing with Trump is, I mean, I think his taxes are more complex than those guys. They don't have as many businesses as he allegedly does. So, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's what accountants are for. They can decipher that.
And when they're done, he'll release them. You know.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait and see. But I got to give him the benefit down until he releases them. So he said he would. So.
All right. Like I said, I think that should be for every one of them. You know, anybody running for office, let's see how honest and credible you are, especially when it comes to, my whole take is, hey, you should, if I got to pay taxes, so do you.
And then we go into the whole thing with the immigration then, don't we?
Well, yes and no, though, because I actually do know, I believe it or not, I actually do know quite a few illegal immigrants who do pay income tax.
Okay.
So, because they do have you can get instead of a social security number, you can file for a TIN, taxpayer identification number. So you can do that.
And who's that guy in Florida?